Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. We are just a mere 54 days away from the start of the 2021 MLS season. And it's here, my friends, silly season. It's all here. It's all upon us. We have BC United player rumors to discuss. We have a player interview to tease. Stick around for that. We've got Washington Spirit news. We've got Loudoun United news. We've got a Richmond Kickers connection. It's all here. It's all the time. It's RFK Refugees. John, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. This is a very thought out and jam-packed show for a end of February show with no seasons actually started yet.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've gone where we've had like very little to talk about to suddenly everything to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pretty amazing. Well, let's jump right in it first and foremost. We here at the show, we know that you guys love us. We feel the love every time we make a tweet and you guys like it. We post the show and we see the reviews. But we want to dive a little bit deeper. We want to know your thoughts on the show, ways we can get better. You know, we're not complete, perfection. We're not complete people who think our show is perfect. And we want to hear a little bit more. So we have rfrefugees.com. I think you have this pinned at the top, right, of our website.
Yep. If you, yeah, it's right there. You'll find it. It's also pinned on our Twitter as the first tweet. So we are, I believe I said until the 1st of March, we're taking people's surveys, and we're going to draw a name from there at the end of that, and whoever wins gets a copy of FIFA, copy of Football Manager. If you have both of those or don't want them, we are going to get you an RFK Refugee shirt and swag. I have a drawer to my left full of RFK Refugee swag, things that we never even gave away that we have. So and do it. So tell us what you think. I think that we have found the negative feedback the most useful, and we're already sort of taking that on board and trying to improve. So again, thank you to those who have filled it out so far. And if you haven't yet, please do.
Be brutally honest. We want honesty here on the show because we want to get better. And we want to deliver a show that you guys want and you guys want to continue to listen to. We are a show for you guys. You guys were the reason we got into doing this and wanted to cover DC United, and it evolved into covering more. And a lot of that came from listener feedback, and a lot of the stuff we've done to the show has come from listener feedback, and a lot of our plans for 2021 are coming from listener feedback. So if you want to have a say in how this show gets built and how the show develops, fill out the survey, and you have a chance to win some cool prizes. So
yeah. Speaking of 2021 plans for the year, make sure you're following us on Instagram. If you're not already, I think we have a lot more of you guys on Twitter than on Facebook or on Instagram. I mean, like us on Facebook too, but I think that's not our primary concern. But we're going to do some stuff during the season, pregame, halftime, postgame, sort of short, quick things that make most sense for us to do on Instagram. So make sure you're following us on there, and then you'll see when we go live, and you can join us.
Yep. And stick around, fill out the survey, let us know what you think. Let's transition right into the news, though. I think it's worth it to jump in. Unless I'm missing something, John's kind of making me look.
We're getting to know each other so well now, and also I have a horrible poker face, so those two things at once. I wanted to remind everyone, thank you to the people who have already rated the show on iTunes or wherever else. Those are great. That helps us, particularly as we sort of look towards the future about sponsorship and advertising. If you haven't done it yet, please do. Tell us what you think about the show. Rate us 5 stars. If you think we suck, you can just take a break and not rate us. But if you think we're great, rate us. Tell us what you think. That's the last of our plugs at the top.
Yeah, that's the last of the plugs. Let's get into the news now. Let's get into the news. Let's start with the leading story. It is not DC United related, but still a pretty important story as far as the Washington Spirit go and in ownership and money into the club. They announced that they have a new investor group. They are LAFCing, Angel City FCing it with a long list of owners and investors, I guess is the right way to put it.
They are LAFCing this in the most Washington DC possible way.
Yes.
Where LAFC is like Serena Williams, Natalie Portman. Our list is Chelsea Clinton, Jenna Bush, Tom Daschle for you DC heads, Jay Carney, and then also Brianna Scurry and Dominique Dawes, and then a bunch of other people that most people have not heard of probably. But it's a very diverse group. I think the thing that to look at here is these are not all majority. The ownership is still staying with the current owners, with the three of them, as far as a controlling stake. This is about opportunities to leverage those connections that people have, skills, just sort of, utilize their connections versus saying, here's a bunch of money, go sign all of the players, because we're still constrained by all of NWSL roster rules and salary caps.
Exactly. And Jay Carney's on the list too, which is fine. I had to look that up that name rang a bell, and I had to look it up, and it's Obama's former press secretary. So,
and now most recently, I think PR for Uber and then PR for Amazon.
Yeah. So lots of investors. I mean, it is good in any sense to have investment into the team. I mean, this makes news. You look at what the union did in. Oh man, my mind is completely. Work has turned my mind to mush, folks. I'm trying to trudge along here real quick. Was it Dwight Howard? No, not Dwight Howard. I can't remember
James Harden.
No, well, James Harden was
Kevin
Houston.
Durant. Kevin Durant was the one.
Kevin Durant, correct. Kevin Durant was the one who signed with who signed with Philly. You're not expecting. It's something I think a lot of people want DC to do, which is to kind of open up the ownership. You got somebody who's interested. You go and get that ownership in. So
I think James Harden is an investor in the Dynamo, and I think and then Kevin Durant's in the Union. He offered to buy DC. So that's I think it's great, particularly if it's a capital call. Like we've talked about liking it if it means more money for DC United to spend.
Yeah.
That's the best ones, I think. But sort of going on about the Spirit and the investor group, an article on the Equalizer that came out, I think, was it the 17th? Yeah, by Emily Olson, who has been a beat for DC United as well as covering the Spirit. Check it out. If you're not a subscriber already to the Equalizer, I recommend it. I joined last year. It's great. But the thing that I thought was really notable on this is that something we sort of know that they're planning for a full season at Segura this year until they let fans in Audi because it's too expensive to rent without Ticketgate, which makes sense. But they also made $500,000 for one game on revenue in 2019, which is an NWSL record. And they also sold $1.5 million in sponsorships last year. And that was known, they were selling as the season was going on. And we knew that there weren't going to be any games in front of people. So that was money they were banking above and beyond, even despite the pandemic. So that's a really great sign for them as far as how they're going to grow in 2021 and going forward. They have a facility in Loudoun. They're going to have a training facility that's their own. They're going to have two stadiums that are essentially not their own, but they feel like they are part of it. They have an equity stake. They asked Steve Baldwin if he was ever planning to build a stadium for Spirit themselves. And he was basically like, no, there's no reason for us to ever do that. We have plenty of options here. And that's the great thing is we have a 10-year partnership with DC United. And he made a comment in the article basically that was like, we don't have to own and operate everything in order to be successful. There's ways that you can take, use comparative advantage, find what people do better than you, find partnerships, and then leverage those partnerships to grow. So they know they have a lot of room to grow, but they are making the right connections to sort of make that possible more quickly. So I'm excited to cover them this year. I'm excited for things to continue to progress for all the teams in the region, but them specifically right now.
And I think we've talked about this a lot in the show. You talk about that connection they have, the 10-year deal they have with DC. We have seen rumblings and rumors and a lot dealing with, particularly with the team coming to KC via Salt Lake. Just about these teams don't share any ownership, but they see a collective idea in growing soccer and growing soccer for the Spirit and the idea of, really of rising tides lifts all boats. And I think it's something that most MLS fans would want their teams to be. And it's good to see DC doing that because a lot of other owners in a lot of other cities see them as competitors, and it's an adversarial relationship. And that's not a healthy one. And it's certainly something that doesn't help, because, you can work out the schedule, but you can be under the understanding that people that are showing up to Spirit games might also show up to DC games and vice versa. So you can be that sort of collective. You guys are operating the same market, but two separate sides of it almost. And that's something I think that I'm glad to see. And also probably buoyed by the fact that DC needs tenants for Audi Field and for Secker Field too. So that doesn't hurt as well. So
yeah, so I think as far as the Spirit go, that is the preseason's ongoing. They have the longest preseason in recorded history. I believe the Challenge Cup starts in April, so they're going to be practicing a lot. I think they're going to Florida to train, maybe next week or the week after. So they're currently training in the bubble in Ashburn for the Washington football team. So before we move on, I'm teasing. I think a lot of you have seen it on Twitter. We have Andy Sullivan on the show. We're interviewing her tomorrow. So please get your questions in as you get this. It'll be today as you're listening to this on the audio. But the other exciting thing we have going on is that we have our first giveaway on RFK Refugees. We're doing a jersey giveaway, a Washington Spirit jersey giveaway. I can't tell how much you can see because of our weird formatting thing. But we're going to be talking about how to win that jersey on that podcast on Thursday. So make sure you are subscribed and listen to that podcast, and you'll find out how you can win.
Yeah, and definitely check out the interview. So I think we're really excited for that. And thank you for the team for getting that, organizing that and getting that together. So they've been really, really great about that. All right. And with all the ownership moving the Spirit, other teams that we cover, we have signings to talk about now, John. The silly season is right on its way. I think it's fully, and I think we got a chat feature going on at the top. I'm seeing. What is that? Anyway, we can see the video screen we got going on right now. Part of our wonderful work that Brian's doing. So hopeful it's something even more exciting. But let's talk signings, man. We got several different. Do we want to start with the DC related stuff, or do you want to start with the Loudon related?
Well, let's
stuff?
do DC as our. I think that's the mothership. So we have a potential, I don't want to say Eric Sorga 2, but another player, youngish striker with a decently prolific, not to the extent of Sorga, but successful strike record. Nigel Roberta, who is a Dutch-born forward who plays at Levski Sofia. So you probably don't watch those games; those aren't on ESPN Plus. But the idea here is that we have a player that our coach is familiar with. It's a player that is, I think, about a $1 to $2 million transfer fee. The thing that's exciting to me, if there's anything, we're not going to pretend that we are watching Bulgarian soccer. If we were, I think neither of us would be married. I think we would live in boxes, but only somehow have streaming ability to watch, because I don't know how we'd have time to work. But the idea is that there are teams in Europe that have been looking at this player. Malmo was looking at him. Dynamo Zagreb. So those are all names you will recognize from the sacrificial lamb stage of the Champions League usually. But he's a player that has some interest. If you watch his sizzle reels are notoriously hard to sort of export the difficulty level when you map it to MLS, but he looks very confident. I know Ted had some thoughts about sort of what he looks like, but I think if you watch that, go to the Black Red United article where they're talking about him, but he is a confident scorer and maybe is something that we need, particularly with the small amount of goals we scored last year. Ted, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah, so we have to go off the sizzle reel, and sizzle reels are not, you should never use a sizzle reel to indicate whether a player is good or not, or whether he will be good or not. But you can glean maybe certain tendencies, certain highlights, can sort of give you a sense of what type of player this is. And this guy seems like either a Wando light, or almost a direct answer to Ola Kamara. He does have some skill on the ball. I saw some vision, some attempts at passing. So he's not completely just a goal poacher, but he definitely does feel like he's a right time, right place type of goal scorer. And John has some maybe some negative opinions on that. I don't care as long as he's good and can find positions and put the ball in the back of the net. This is a guy that very clearly the team is looking at. This is the guy they talked about as the competitor, the guy that's going to be competing for a spot with Ola Kamara, and trying to push him a little bit and maybe make things interesting. Be a guy off the bench. We always need depth, and building that depth is important. I think the real interesting was looking at does he qualify for the new 22 under 22 initiative? He's 23, so it doesn't appear like he does. So he is certainly older than that.
He'll be a young DP though.
Yeah.
Similar to our last young DP, I believe, was Rafael Gladiator from Bahia. And he scored one goal against Columbus and then never again. So hopefully he does better than him if he does sign.
One incredible goal, and then literally just never saw the field again. It was like the biggest disappearing act I've ever seen. But he's a young designated player, so he will pick up less of the salary cap. He comes out on a pretty modest fee. So there are maybe a little bit more expectations than him than Erik Sorga. Erik Sorga was kind of like a cheap transfer fee coming in. So there's a little bit more something to this. So the idea is, can they get, if he's going to be successful, again, it's the same thing with Ola Kamara. Can they put the ball in the positions where he can score? And that happened sometimes with Ola. He also didn't help himself, but I would argue it didn't happen enough. And it didn't allow him to sort of get that goal and build that confidence. So
I'm being corrected on top of my face on this layout by Angus that TT was a young DP.
Yeah. Well, he was a loan though.
He was
a year loan.
He was.
Maybe his salary put him over that edge. Maybe that's more what it's about. I'd have to look.
Well, we'll just agree to disagree on that, Angus, unless you drop the drop the links in the chat.
Drop the facts.
I saw one thing that says to me, if this move does happen, it's not really guaranteed yet to happen. It's in the rumor stage. And also, I believe he got close. He likes to get in, his agent likes to put him into negotiations with other teams in the media, based on a cursory Google search. This should mean that Erik Sorga gets to play in Loudoun a lot.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then what are we doing? Like, I feel like a young player that needs to play,
Erik, yeah.
let's give him a chance. That sounds like him. But we'll see. Keep an eye on that. It's one of 4 potential moves coming in the next week.
Yeah.
Want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, let me pull back up. I'm trying to jump to
the next one is Brendan Heinz Ike or Ike. Hard to say. I don't have a pronunciation guide in front of me. But he has been playing. He's an American, so and non-international, which is helpful for our roster construction. But has been playing in Europe, first in Sweden, then in Belgium for the last 5 years. So Hernan Losada and his assistant Nicolas Frutos are familiar with him. Played against him from Beerschot. I like that, by the way. So he's I think last year his season ended. He was a starter. I did a little investigation. He was a starter, every game starter in 2019 until he tore his hamstring and then didn't play as much. Last year he played sparingly. This season he's played 9 games. So he is no longer first choice. It depends sort of how he plays in here. I know that we have Steve Birnbaum still recovering from injury despite his ability to dribble on Instagram Lives, looking very spry, but I think still not ready for games. We need more depth in the middle, regardless of what system we play. We need more center back. So this also looks. This is Goff, obviously. It seems to be saying that this is getting pretty close. That would be great. I think that's a people have been asking for defenders. I know that Hernan on the interview on DC United Kingdom said he wanted a signing at every level. So he wanted a forward, a midfielder, and a defender. So this sounds like 2 of those are satisfied.
And it's center back depth. This team, I think, was hurting a lot last year towards the end of the season. And depth and potential. If you want to look at a player that can potentially push, every year everybody already talks about, when is the team going to move on from Fred Brilliant? This feels like a guy that they're going to potentially move on from with Fred Brilliant. So
as soon as someone moves him off his spot, you can take his spot.
Yeah.
He's king of the mountain until someone finally does it.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, we don't have a lot of video. I guess we'll be The Belgian league is now, of course, on ESPN Plus. Maybe we'll see if he plays for a game. Doesn't look like he's getting many appearances though.
If
so
someone put
might not be
a
worth
sizzle reel for a third center back on a Belgian non-top tier, I will have a great faith in YouTube and the internet. So I hope we'll dig it up. Someone let us know in the comments if that has happened. I doubt it.
Well, the interesting thing about him is that I think he was drafted by Montreal and then left for Europe and did not, and basically, so, but for whatever reason, Montreal did not hold his rights still. Who knows how that works. I'm not even going to begin to guess that one, to be honest, on how all that works, but, right. Good for him. And hopefully if they do sign him, he'll be a good player.
Yeah. Two more moves, potential moves. One that we have talked about on this podcast before, and which we're very excited about. Andy Nahar is undergoing a medical, which is no small thing for a player with his injury history, despite his young age. We will see very soon how that pans out. But if he's undergoing a medical, I think that they've decided at least they want to bring him in for camp. Also, Rodney Wallace, according to Reef K, I for some reason can't think of his actual human name. As is back in town, his family and he have flown back to DC this week. He was training with the club previously, so that looks again like either a contract is going to be offered or he's going to be able to train with the team early in preseason. We're happy about that. I think that those are both that's fullback depth, what people have been talking about. So there's two of them.
And, it leads into the idea that maybe this team is going to be shifting more towards that 3-5-2 that, Hernan has been very on the show. He was like, look, I'm going to play whatever the best position is. But if the team comes in and they're like, hey, we want to build a team to play that style, having guys like Rodney Wallace, having guys like Andy Nahar, Ariel, if he comes back, Julian Gressel, those guys are all sort of wing back type players. And then you have four center backs. Maybe you look to bring in a fifth one. If you're looking at playing three, I think you always like to have at least two in the depth position, but you can start to see this team potentially build that sort of 3-5-2 that they sort of that Hernan became famous for at Beerschot. So that I think is something interesting. I guess is maybe a tactical shift to sort of pushing those players to be signed. So
the chat has informed me. First of all, that it's Ryan Kiefer. For some reason, I can remember his name. Also, apparently, Kevin Spence on Twitter says that there is a sizzle reel for Brendan Heinz Ike, which I really have to see. So I hope we get to see that later. But that that would be great. Rich also makes a good point. The sort of to where we need to put our young players. You can't groom young players on the bench. You need youth at Loudon, journeyman as backup. So we've got enough youth players, and we're going to be talking to Ryan Martin in a few weeks. Hopefully by then he's got a better idea of what the protocols are going to be for US and MLS loans, which was the problem last year. But it's we're going to talk about Loudon here in a second. But that's we've been talking about waiting for this team to sign players. It was obvious that they were waiting to have a coach in place. They have one now, and now we're finally starting to see things move. They were never going to sign huge players in this window. These aren't those, but that's okay. I think we've been talking since Hernan was unveiled that we were just saying that make the players that we have a little bit better for now. Like get us better, establish your philosophy, improve the players who had down years last year, and then we'll look at it in the summer or next year. So I'm excited either way. I don't know about you.
I'm excited. I think I'm going to be again curious how this whole 22 under 22 initiative, whether we see DC dip into that. I kind of, the first thought was, this might be a 22 under 22 player. I guess he still falls under the young DP. So that is certainly something that at least takes less off the salary cap. So it lowers the risk of this type of move. I think you're going to have a tough time convincing some fans. Some fans every year we don't do something major. It's this was a disaster, and that's fair. Think what you think and voice your opinion. But I will say you start to see. Okay, they're starting to build some depth. I think maybe they need one or two more, maybe impact players, and sort of fill out that roster. You've got Loudon. Hopefully they're going to allow some more movement this year. So you've got a chance for maybe a player like Andy Nahar to get some minutes, to get some form back. against lesser opponents, where he can actually build some skills, as they say. Speaking of players out on loan and out in Europe, Paul Arriola still at Swansea. Things are
still healthy for now.
Yeah, still healthy, which is already going better unfortunately than Jordan Morris, who suffered an ACL tear. Very, very sad to hear that. And Seattle fans are very sad. It is the worst. Either one of these players goes down with an injury, it's literally the worst possible scenario. It basically, it sort of wastes the move. Jordan Morris, I don't think he was getting off to a stellar start.
He was starting though. He was getting more game time than Paul has so far.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, I think they're trying to work Paul in a little bit. So this might accelerate that path. We'll see. I'll be curious to see what happens over the next few games, even though they're not on ESPN Plus. Apparently, you pay Apparently, we can pay $27 like a month, and we can watch the games or something like that.
Nope.
Did I hear that correctly? Nope.
Yeah. Swansea has a team specific one. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I have bought now 2 jerseys from Swansea City, so they should just include it for free. Thank you to the other gentleman who fixed my jersey size problem. I have my new one coming anytime now, so that's good.
And Tim Flesh also notes that Kamarni Smith is apparently now close to a signing, which was expected. I think he's a player we will definitely see. He and the other center back, I even forgot about the Shields. I guess that's your fifth center back.
You think we'll see them both in DC this year?
I think you'll see them at Loudon to start.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very similar. And if they show well, like Donovan Pine showed well for a couple weeks, and then he was, in the DC lineup the next week. I think also some injuries maybe played a role in that.
Yes.
But he showed well enough to show that they could bring him in and maybe trust him a little bit. So I think you could see something similar, hopefully not the injuries, but definitely I think you see them mostly being loaned down to Loudon, getting minutes, getting time, getting experience. I think it's good that they drafted players that were going to come here to play because they had the option. Players had the option to be like, I'll just go finish out my college season and I'll see you in the summer. And I think that's kind of almost a waste of a pick, especially if you're going to draft 2 players in the top 5. You want to at least have them under contract in here. So I think that's good to see.
Speaking of Loudon, we have so they've decided that they're going to sign everyone here in the last few weeks. Yep. Loudon has signed 8 players and has re-signed, I believe, 3 more that were previously on the roster. This is going to be a different team than last year. I think that they have taken to heart that they had the worst record in all of USL, and there are like 900,000 teams in the USL Championship, so that was a real achievement. But they've decided that they're going to make some moves here. So I'm going to read a whole bunch of names, and then we're going to walk through them. For those of you who wanted Loudon content, strap up your boots. We're going to give you some Loudon content now. All right. So players that have signed in the last 3 weeks. Jermaine Forda. I'm going to go through the names, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. Jermaine Forda, Darluis Paz, Baraktullah Sharifi. By the way, I'm taking this for Ted. I'm not getting these right either, but I'll take the slings and arrows. Nanan Husso. And then for re-signing, we're going to have Robbie Dambrat, as he actually set people straight on his Instagram. Ty Gabara, Ted Cudibietro, he of the recent RFK Refugees bump last week. Tim Meal, Drew Skundrich, Samson Sergey, Wahab Akai. Is it Akwai?
It's Akwe.
Akwe. See, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keegan Meyer and Gasu Samake. So They made it very easy for me here with all these names. So I'm gonna get through these. I have a little very small bit on each of these players. Jermaine Forda is a former West Ham under-23 player, goalkeeper. He's backup competition. He last played in the USL with El Paso. Darluis Paz is a bit more exciting. I think he's currently on the U17s for Venezuela. He played for Deportivo La Guerra. Scored, I think, 7 goals last year. Tricky winger. If you want to look on, again, Rifa K has an interview that Ryan Martin did with a Venezuelan journalist about Paz. So that's exciting. I think he is probably the most offensive-oriented player with upside that the Loudon brought in so far. Sharifi, midfielder, former teammate of Josh Fawole at Loyola. Last played with New York Red Bulls 2. Husso is on loan from a club in the Ivory Coast. ASI de Bergen, a team from in the Ivory Coast, scored 7 goals, 16 assists in 20 games last year. He's on the U20 national team for the Ivory Coast. So they are doing. I think they had a lot of success last year, sort of looking at the under 23s, under 20s, and a bunch of the African region. So they've gone back to the well. Dambrat, defender, injured last year. I think he broke his arm or broke his shoulder in preseason. In 2019, he played 6 games with Loudoun and came from Virginia Beach FC. For those of you in the Hampton Roads area who are excited about the NPSL, that's where he came from. Gabara, center attacking midfielder, son of Jim Gabara, a longtime women's coach. He played 8 games in 2020, no goals. We don't have to tell you what Cudi Pietro does, particularly if you're a podcast listener, you know what he's all about. Timmy Mail was one half of the first choice center back pairing since he was signed in the middle of the year in 2019. He started 11 games for Loudoun last year. The defense needed some improvement. So he's one of the few that's been brought back on that back line who was a starter last year. Drew Skundrich is a midfielder who signed from Sacramento Republic, my second USL team. I encourage you to check out Black and Red United's write-up on him. They had a conversation with, I think, Indomitable Soccer, which is the SB Nation Sacramento blog, sort of said what he's about. Good player. He wanted to relocate. The team, Sacramento, wanted him back, but he wanted to come out east to live with his wife, who we are interviewing tomorrow on the show. So it's all connected. Samson Sergey, a forward. He's from Ashburn. He played last year with New Mexico United, scored 6 goals, scored 29 goals in 4 years at Xavier. There's an excitement with him. Apparently, he's a local kid. They wanted to see what he could do. Big physical forward. I still miss Kyle Murphy. I want to have somebody scoring goals like Kyle Murphy. Why don't you talk to us about the former Richmond Kickers player here?
Yes. So, I'm excited, I guess, and sad because I am a Richmond Kickers season ticket holder. And Akwe was a very, very good, solid defensive center back for this club. He plays center back. Even in 2019, when things weren't going so well, he was definitely clearly a player that you saw out there trying it. And the issue in 2019 wasn't allowing goals for the Kickers. It was their ability to score goals. And that the offense was sputtering, but they were able to keep themselves sort of afloat in that middle of the park because they were not allowing many goals in 2019. 2020, obviously things turned around. They got more offensive help. And he was a huge part of that renaissance in 2020 for the Kickers. And I'm sad to see him go. And I wish him all the best. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch him at Loudoun United, of course, as well. So I'm hopeful he gets some minutes. So very solid player, very solid pickup. I think it does make Loudoun United a better team. And I'm biased, I know, but. Yes.
Well, I mean, hey, that's the scouting report we have on one of these players, so that's good to know. Meyer is a goalkeeper, also local, Silver Spring, drafted by the Rebs in 2020, played for their USL 2 team side for eight games. He's going to be another backup option, which I think means my buddy my buddy Miller, my Instagram friend, is maybe not back this year unless they're going to carry 4 goalies. And Samake, defender, played with ASEC Mimosas, which is a great team name in the Ivory Coast. Another U23 player. It's a whole new roster. Very, very few guys coming back last year. There's obviously going to be some more signings announced here. We've not yet made a full side. USL sides are always huge because they play 5,000 games. So we're going to keep keeping that updated. I think Ryan, when he comes on, Coach Martin, will give us a little bit more context about what he's hoping to do this year. I asked Ted on our interview last week, and this is probably a better question for the coach. It was always said that the Loudoun team and Ben Olsen worked very tightly as far as what they were going to do from a style formation perspective. I imagine that will continue. Hernan's going to have to sort of speak his mind on that. I wonder if that conversation's happened yet. And if not, probably will happen pretty soon.
Yeah, it'll be curious if we get Ryan Martin on the show, sort of I imagine they will have to have had some conversations. I know Hernan's probably still just trying to figure out where Audiefield is and where his office is and everything. But it'd be interesting to see what that sort of relationship is going to be like and how that's going to grow. So I think I'll be very, very curious to talk to Ryan Martin sort of about how he feels that relationship is going. And lot of all these players are on like 1-year contracts, right? Like
Correct.
there isn't. Yeah, that's something. I don't know. I did not put this in the rundown, so we'll make a little aside. But I watched Joe Gallardo score an absolute banger. Former Richmond Kickers player score a banger for Querétaro in Liga MX, and I have to sit here and wonder as I watch that. I'm like, he's out there playing in a league. He played on a USL League Two team 3 years ago, then on the Kickers in League One. Then he was actually sold in one of the very few actual transfers in USL when he was sold, I think, for like $10,000 to Real Monarchs. Didn't play very much, and then goes to Liga MX and is getting appearances. He's not blowing the doors off, but I see that and I'm like, man, there is still some missed opportunities in between USL and MLS in getting guys in. And I wish teams can maybe get these guys on a little bit longer contracts and have the incentive where they would want to go and then sell them, and they could sort of sell them up and sort of open up that pipeline. Maybe it never comes. I don't know, but that's something I've always wanted to sort of happen.
Yeah, I recommend the article on The Athletic. I don't remember the author at the moment, but it really got into the fact. I talked a lot to Landon Donovan, who is now the coach and quasi general manager of the San Diego Loyal, about how hard it is to figure out value of USL players, particularly when you're talking about USL League Two players, where they're either asking way too much or they literally can't afford to lose players because a lot of these players, they're just taking lottery tickets on these guys. It's like it's an open call. Mm-hmm. So it's a real struggle to decide how you're going to get along. Gallardo was, I remember, I don't follow the team closely, but I remember when he was signed, they're like, this guy's going to be somewhere else soon. Like he's way too talented. He's had was it an injury history or like a disciplinary history? What landed him there to begin with?
I can't exactly speak, but I do know he was a player. Actually, I think that either a player came up to the coach or the now former coach of the Kickers, David Bulow, sort of recruited and said, "Hey, you should come here, and I'll take care of you." And he was one of the in that really bad 2019 season, he was one of the bright spots, and it was very clear when he got out there. He was very much a step ahead. A lot of the other players. I'm not privy to the actual details in the moment. I'm sure there are details out there, but it's kind of shocking that he's out there playing in Liga MX, and it makes me wonder. I think I was listening to Extra Time, and they were talking. I was like, oh well, they're just. I don't know if the players are really good enough in USL to go up in MLS, and I'm like, literally a guy who was playing in League One 3 seasons ago just scored probably one of the best goals Querétaro is going to have all year. And you're telling me there's talent there. It's good enough. Someone just needs to put the resources into actually scouting there. And we've seen it with DC. We've seen it with Dane Kelly, who was the leading goal scorer in the USL Championship. So I don't know if it's a situation of these players just not getting opportunities. Is it an issue of timing? I don't know what it is, but I feel like there are talented players in USL, and we'll see sort of maybe how that market develops. The Kickers sold him, and I don't think they wanted to sell him, but I think they sold him with the idea to try to kind of open up that market. And that's what they talked about. They said, we're selling him just to get that ball rolling, get that maybe that first valuation. And then maybe you have a starting point where if another player impressed, you can say, well, we sold Gallardo for $10K. We think he's better than Gallardo. Give us $15K and we'll call it a deal. And then you can sort of start building up that valuation. You're right. It's hard. I think the resources and scouting need to be put into MLS clubs, and they're players right in your back door, and you can buy them for cheaper than you would in the international market. If you buy an American player, they don't count against, the international slots and everything. So I just like to see that more develop a little bit. So we'll see.
Querétaro is the team that doesn't pay their players, I believe. I think that was, I remember Camilo Sanvezzo, when he had his secret transfer from Vancouver, had a problem with being paid. And I believe, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, that Ronaldinho played for Querétaro for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah. They may have had some, I think they've had some financial issues and they've been sold. Again, they're right now they finished 17th last year. Of course, now there's no more relegation in Liga MX. It's on a hiatus or a pause. But yeah, I think I might start becoming a fan. I think they've got some new ownership. That's come into the team that hopefully makes it a little better. Because you're right, that was bad.
How many soccer games? This is a quick not on the rundown. How many soccer games did you watch this weekend? Because the answer for me is a lot.
A lot, yeah. I watched. I had the 4 screens on for the Bundesliga games. Of course, I watched the Premiership game. I watched the Liverpool Everton match. As sad as that was for me as a Liverpool fan, things are not going well. I am very much looking forward to the start of the MLS season, even though that might be disappointing too. I can take a little more joy out of that, watching some other teams and there's fantasy sports I participate in with MLS. So I get much, even when things are bad, I still get joy out of watching MLS. Just as a whole. So
I subscribe to the Fanatis, whatever it's actually called. I watched Ligue 1. I watched the Portuguese league. I watched a bunch of EPL games. I watched a championship game. I watched 2 Serie A games. I watched Ecuadorian soccer. I watched Argentinian soccer, and I watched the Colo Colo game, the last game of I forget the Chilean league. It is phenomenal. I need to get someone to pull me out of the couch on the weekends.
What is this Fanatis? I have not been aware of this.
It's
how much is
it's $8, I believe, a month. So it's like Peacock, but 13 leagues. It has the La Liga, it has the Portuguese league, the Brazilian league, Ecuadorian league, and then I 2 or 3 other ones. Turkey. So it's got BN Sport. It's amazing. There's literally, I open my my foot mob and sort it by time, and I can just roll from 6 a.m. in Australia to 10:45 watching a game on the west coast of Mexico, and it's fantastic. I watch Mexican League games too. It was so good. I don't know what I'm going to do when MLS and USL start. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to
do. Daniel Hill saying R.I.P. Schalke. I have to sort of agree with him on the sense that Matthew Hoppe is going to blow up the second Bundesliga next season. He is going to be the Golden Boot winner down there, because it looks like Schalke are heading down to the second division to join the likes of my club, FC Heidenheim.
They had 6 points before Matthew Hoppe arrived, or 7 points, something insane. So
yeah. And then Angus Long, of course, says the Indian Super League, which non-COVID times tune into that, because you're watching soccer being played on a cricket field, and it's the crowds are so removed. It is the most and you see these I'm pretty sure, I want to say that I think I saw Tim Cahill out on the field one time, and I had to laugh as wow, that's a name. You have those players oh man, that's a name I haven't heard in forever. So
Robin van Persie would have been out there. I believe in the first year it happened, Santino Quaranta was picked by one of the teams in the draft, which I was like, how do I watch this? I need to watch this. I don't think he actually saw the field, unfortunately, but yeah, soccer is great. There are so many options on this Fanatis. I got to find out if I can get a referral bonus so I can start getting you guys to buy in, but it's great.
Hey man, show sponsors. Let's do it.
Let's talk. I'm sure this is I think a very small time operation. We might be able to do it.
All right, we got about 15 minutes. We got a huge segue. Let's talk U.S. women's national team, SheBelievesCup. They are in a tournament with Canada, Brazil, and Argentina. They have played Canada, Brazil. Let's just say I think the problem with the U.S. women's national team is not that they played terribly. It's that, well, number one, you got to admit too, they have not. This is the first competitive games they have had in a while. So let's against real opponents too. All right. Now, I don't want to say real opponents, against strong opponents, let's say. I don't want to say that, but actual competition. And yes, they looked rough. Things looked rough. Emily Sonnet did not have the greatest game against Brazil. It only in contrast to the fact that I missed Rose Lavelle. Crystal Dunn, another former Spirit player, was fantastic in Brazil. She had a particular moment when Brazil had a breakaway and she jogged all the way back, made the tackle. What's that?
I said smack the ball with her hand.
Was it with a hand? I thought it was with a hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, ball to hand, not handling. I'm going to go ahead and call that. But she played really well. Alex Morgan out on the left was interesting to me. She was almost playing as a winger out there, and that was. And then I think she kind of switched to the right at one point too. I kind of saw that action. Rose Lavelle again has moments of great. I think sometimes she's holding the ball a little too much. I think she needs to, utilize her teammates. She was trying to run at some defenders, which is great. And some players don't go out and do those types of things. But that was really good.
She's still working her way into fitness
Yeah.
after a baby and very short time overseas. Also, I forget who said it on Twitter, but Alex Morgan is the team leader in getting smacked around for the team or dying for the team. Like she gets a lot of fouls suffered because, like you said, she does hold on to the ball, but it usually ends up with a free kick.
Great goal from Kristen Press. I think she's going to be one to watch out there. I think she's very much gotten sort of buried amongst a lot of the other talent in the U.S. team, as what happens with a lot of players. And I think this might be her sort of coming out party for the Olympics and sort of her asserting herself, maybe even taking the sort of center striker spot from Alex Morgan. Also had the goal from Megan Rapinoe, who keeps trucking along, had a great tribute to, by the way, I don't think we ever mentioned congratulations to Ashlyn Harris and Allie Krieger on their new adopted daughter. I'm pretty sure. So congratulations to them in that. And I think Megan Rapinoe had a really nice sort of tribute to them. They were sort of left off the roster and everybody was kind of wondering why. And then we saw the pictures. So
they're busy.
Yep. So very good to see there. All right, we got, yes, they will play Wednesday. U.S. Women's play Wednesday against Argentina to most likely wrap up the SheBelievesCup. They're still not clinched yet, but I think they just need a draw and they'll get it. And Argentina are the weakest of their three opponents, so that should definitely happen. But Wednesday at 7, definitely check it out. Let's start with question time. We got one from our compatriot competitor over in the UK with DC United Kingdom. Says, what is your favorite celebration? I don't know if he's talking like favorite DC.
Nope, just favorite goal celebration. And I have an answer for that. And I also have a video for that, which we're going to play over here. I don't know if we can, how much you can see it.
I'm wondering what this is.
This is the Robbie Fowler N1 goal scoring celebration. This is the best one. It's certainly, kids don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. But and he does it twice. They try to get him to stop, and he goes and does it again. I love it. It's my favorite celebration.
I'm sorry, John. You took a big whiff on that being. I'm a Liverpool fan, so I love me some Robbie Fowler. But unfortunately, the best goal celebration is the Aleko Eskandarian Red Bull spit take. That is the greatest celebration in DC United history. Come at me, find me a better one.
I'll have I tried to find video for you for that, and no video.
You knew what
on
my
YouTube.
answer was going to be. This is how we knew we were.
We're syncing up, but unfortunately, YouTube did not want to let me do that. They've been a lot of copyright claims on that celebration for whatever reason. But anyway,
fair enough. Yes, Angus saying thank you, Ted. Yes, of course.
Next question from DCU Gooner. Fullback depth is a big need for this team. What profile fullback would you like to see come in? Since we need at least 2, in my personal opinion, do you think all fullbacks who come in should be of the same profile or have differing styles? I think both of the fullbacks coming in are coming in next week, and their names are Andy Nahar and Rodney Wallace.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you at this point what Rodney Wallace's style is anymore. It's been a while. Same for Andy Nahar. And also, we don't necessarily know what formation is going to be played here. So I think you just basically pick the players that are talented and versatile, and I think that's in their health. That's both of those players.
And I think you also have to look at it. Right now you have Paul. I'm going to list him with a huge asterisk, obviously. Though things keep going down the tubes, he might be back. I think it seemed to indicate that his transfer was indicated on the team making the Premiership, and right now I think they've dropped down to 4th. So they're in the playoff, but it's a much longer shot. They're out of those automatic spots. You have Julian Gressel. You have Yamil Assad could theoretically play that role. There's a lot of talk about him being a playable. You have Kevin Paredes.
Yep.
So really, you're looking for 2 others in Andy Nahar and Rodney Wallace as sort of those other sort of wing back, fullback depth. And I think that about rounds it out for me. Even if we lose Paul, we're still down to 4 who can sort of slot in those positions. And no one wants to talk about it, but Russell Canals is sort of the emergency right back too. Although I hope we never get to that. So
I'm sure we will, unfortunately. I want to call out MLS Assist, who talked about Kevin Paredes and their podcast today. Check them out. That's a athletic podcast. Next one we got here is odds of Michael Edwards getting signed as DC United's fifth center back. This has been kicked around a little bit. Michael Edwards, a former DC United Academy player, I believe played most recently at Wolfsburg 2, which I think is probably Bundesliga 3. I'm not sure if it's 2 or not. I think that the reserve teams are in 3. I think probably was better before we were linked with another center back, and also before we signed DeShields. I still think, provided the money is not bad, that we get him. I think DeShields is a full-time Loudon player, and I think Edwards could potentially be your Axel Sjoberg of 2021 from a center back perspective.
Hopefully better than your Axel Sjoberg of 2021.
But from a minutes played perspective, like couple games. Yeah,
I'm not willing to, I guess, buy into that until I see some actual rumors there. I think that's one of those players. It kind of makes sense, but you want to see something before you start to really talk about it.
Sure.
From Jason 1551, which Loudon players have the best shot to make the DCU roster by the end of the year? Alternatively, which DC players will need time in Loudon before they can contribute to the first team?
What Loudon players have the best shot to make this roster by the end of this year? I would say none. I don't think we're going to see that happen this year. I think honestly, I will go ahead and say Michael DeShields and oh my gosh, I am Camarney.
Thank you. Camarney Smith. I would label them as most likely amongst the group, mostly because, and I know they've been signed, but I think we could see them play in Loudon. I think that's more the perspective I'm going. I think we're going to see some guys who are going to get loaned, who are going to get minutes in Loudon. And then maybe they show well and they come back up. So
yeah, Jacob Green would have been one I would have said, but he signed with us. So he'll play probably in Loudon just with a decent contract. In the past, Jeremy Garay has been a name. Adam Lundgaard has been a name. There's just not spots for them on this team right now. I think if they're playing, they will have set USL on fire, and there will have been injuries at DC United level for those two things to happen. But other than that, I think just the two players you named are the only ones going to come up. What players need to get minutes there in Loudon that are currently on the DC United roster? Eric Sorga is one. Moses Nyman is another of the young players. He got not enough time. Jacob Green is another.
The two draft picks I just mentioned, probably DeShields and Smith.
John Kempen will probably play the third goalie. Will probably be the starter if MLS are allowed to move back and forth, which is a question later. So I apologize for answering that ahead of time. But that's probably the bulk of the names you'd want to see down there.
Yep. Next question comes from Tim Flesh. Says, do you think DC United is looking for a number 10 playmaker? Tim, they already have this team does have the player. I think they're looking at the number 10 playmaker, or they might not want to play that style if they shift to a 3-5-2, but right now that player is Edison Flores, who they signed last year. They are going to ride that train, I think, this year. I think they're going to look at 2020 and say, it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to any player to come into a new league, to start up, and then, you don't get the adjustment period. You have to go to Florida away from your family. Then you come back and you have to travel, and it's just a weird sprint to the end. I think they're going to say, okay, they're going to give him a new coach, a more attack-minded coach, and they are setting up. I will say, I think that the coaching hire they've done, the players they are starting to sign, they are definitely setting him up to succeed at this point. Yeah. I think you can make that argument now. If he doesn't succeed this year, then you can't really fault DC for what they've done to sort of bring in the supporting staff around him.
Yep.
So, and I'm sure he'll be eager to prove as well.
We got to crank through these next 7 questions in 6 minutes. At Rich DCU 96 says, probably a dumb suggestion, but Swans could use a better keeper. Bill Hamid. I think that Bill Hamid is not going anywhere. I think Bill has tested the waters. I think Bill likes it here. I think he knows where all the good food is. I think he's got a good apartment. I think he's staying here.
Yeah, I think he is. He is signed for the foreseeable future. I don't think there's any chances of him moving, which is great. We love Bill, and we'd love to have him back. And when he's on, this team is really good. So,
producer Brian, I don't think you have the Instagram question, so I'm just gonna you can go back to the 2 box and I'm just gonna read them. Jeffrey Cook says Goff suggesting we might play 3 in the back. I like Pines, Briant, and Baum on the pitch at once. I think that's more of a statement than a question, but I think that's probably who would likely start. That was what Goff also said, sort of from a setup perspective. Panama Nancy says, any concerns about picking up Emily Sonnet after yesterday, or does she get a pass because Marta? I think Emily would not be happy with the way that game went. I think that her and was it Dahlkemper that was playing next to her had communication problems. They were getting targeted, and it did not go well. That's a position, as I understand it, that is very much open in the Olympics. Right back is an area that they are looking at. So
and I think you also you have to take into account. She's not going to be going up against Marta every week. She's going to be going up against a good talent, but I mean, I'm not overly concerned about her for the Washington Spirit after last week. So I think it's good.
Producer Brian, money on the spot here. The Zach Fisher says, is Ariola's loan to Swansea more likely to become a permanent move with Morris's recent injury? I don't think that affects it. I think the sole determinant has always been them getting promoted. So you could actually, I don't think that Jordan Morris's injury will affect them getting promoted. Likely, I don't think he was an integral part to the team. So I don't think it'll have much of a difference. Would you agree?
I would agree. I think he was sort of surplus. They were trying to utilize him. I think if anything, I mean, unfortunately, I think this opens up some more opportunity for Paul Arriola that maybe wouldn't have been there. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see how Paul does now and how many more looks he's going to get. So
double question for Loudoun Stampede: is Kempen coming to Loudoun? I think that yes, he is. I think he's starting. He also asked, what about DeShields' with defensive reinforcements rumors circulating DC? Ted has hit on that. I think that's the plan. And then Panama Nancy also says, how spooked do you think Paul Arriola is by Jordan Morris's injury? I think everyone probably is a little bit spooked because he was non-contact. It just happened, which is the way that those knee injuries usually start to happen. And they're scary. It was rainy. It can happen at any time.
It's scary, but it is also it's unfortunately it's part of the game. And I think if you're Paul, you're not going to, you have to understand. I mean, that's what happened to him, with his, when he got his injury. It was a freak incident.
I thought he was targeted by an Orlando player. I thought,
Orlando likes to think I said that. So, I thought he was, didn't one of the Orlando players grab a knife and just stab him right in the leg? That's what I saw. That's what I thought. Darn Orlando. Anyway.
Well, thank you all for your questions. We were trying to make sure that we could get in questions from people who are not able to join us live, so we're going to keep doing that every week going forward. Just as we wrap up the show, I want to make sure I put out an appeal for our Patreon, patreon.com/RFKrefugees. Check that out. We're going to be doing a lot of exclusive content, I think, over the next couple of months, but we're also going to make sure that if you join, you get a lot of our content first. So if that's appealing to you, check it out. I'm also going to say, check out the survey again over here to my left. Nope, to my right.
Yeah.
Of my mirrored. Please give that a quick perusal and fill out. And last but not least, Andy Sullivan will be on the show Thursday. It'll be in your podcast, whatever you listen to your podcast on. Make sure you go to rfkrefugees.com/subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube page, or you don't listen to the show on a podcast catcher, you can just click the button of whatever one you like, and it'll instantly add to your app. Yep. We're getting very technologically advanced, making it easy for you to love us from a technological perspective.
Listen to the show, Talk DC. Like I said, we got 50 some more days left until the season starts. So we're trying to build, we're trying to try some things out, do some different things, and hit the season running. So we thank you all so much for the support you guys already give us, the questions, the way you guys contribute on the Patreon pages, on the Twitter account. We love it. And
on our Discord,
yeah, especially as well. So, and on Reddit too. I feel like we should give the OGs of supporting this podcast.
Yep,
have certainly been on Reddit. All right, I guess with that, we will catch you guys next week. Look out for the interview with Andy Sullivan on Thursday, and we will see you all next Monday. Vamos.